Hey guys, happy Friday. Thanks for stopping by for another episode here at alliseeisW, where we talk about stocks, Bitcoin, and finance. In today's video, I would like to share with you my overall assessment with where we're headed with the Bitcoin miner Mara, what my price prediction is, what the outlook is as we're going to be heading into earnings report on Tuesday next week. We'll be covering the latest updates using technical and fundamental analysis along with technicals of Bitcoin. Now, if you're new to this channel, first off, thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate your support with the like and subscribe. Let's begin, guys. Let's first take a look at this post from Han. He's talking about Mara. He's saying, looking good here, just turn resistance into support. He doesn't have a position, but it looks like he's monitoring it. So he thinks that there's a support being established. We did see Mara, running up over the last couple of months. And in fact, it broke through the $20 barrier, but just had a slight pullback just with the recent news announcement. But I do believe that Mara announced the ATM announcement before the earnings report. Let all of that news get, priced in with ATMs. Of course, shorts like to take advantage of that, but it's only going to be a couple days away until we have earnings report, and those are going to be some really nice numbers that will just drive the price up from my perspective. Pelo Swing posts about Mara saying Mara earnings after hours on Tuesday should be interesting with a popcorn icon. Put it down in the comments what you think is going to go. Is Mara's share price going to like run up? Is it going to go down? I have my own personal belief. I would like to say that I believe because of the FASB accounting rule change that's going to favor, Bitcoin hodl companies with this recent update where now Bitcoin is ranked at fair value at the end of quarter two. We know Bitcoin was over $100,000 compared to Q1. That net difference is over 30,000 per Bitcoin. You multiply that by like 50,000 Bitcoins on Mara's HODL. That's like over like $1.5 billion roughly of unrealized gains. So anything can happen, from a macro scale update, financial updates, earnings per share showing positive net income with revenue driven from the rise in Bitcoin's price. And we already saw, we got a taste of the wild in Q1 where miners were able to show that they had positive net income because of Bitcoin price going up. So I really do think that things are going to be very interesting. It's going to be a fireworks movement with Tuesday. Donald Dean posts about Mara. He's saying rounding bottom formation, price targets 25 and $30. Mara is selling shares to pay down debt and buy more Bitcoin, putting pressure on the stock. If Bitcoin continues higher, this stock will most likely complete the trip to the top. The move is still looking very symmetrical. Price targets are 25 at the volume shelf and $30 to challenge highs. So, he just has this U-shaped formation. We're still in that consolidation period, but he really do think that, as we get to this cutoff line, that'll be around that $30 range, which he has drawn out in the month of August. So we're getting very close. And the end of next week will be August 1st. Who knows? We may very well have a nice run up, heading into next week. So Mara, we all know that there was an announcement with, increasing their ATMs or using convertible senior notes that are due 2032. In fact, they went from like 850 million aggregate to 950 million offering with the 0% convertible note, with the senior notes due 2032. And really what they're going to be using that money for is to pay off debt and to buy more Bitcoin. Who knows how much Bitcoin they'll buy? Like with Trump Media, buying $2 billion worth of Bitcoin, they were able to stack like over 18,000 Bitcoin. So let's say if they use this, like 80% of this money, I would say somewhere around purchasing over 10,000 Bitcoins. That would put Mara at like over 60,000 Bitcoins if they use like 80% of this approved ATM, which closes today. I really do think that all of the short-term volatility will go away as soon as, Monday opens. I think Mara's going to have a nice, healthy run up heading into Tuesday's earnings at the end of the market. I really do think that because Mara has been just keeping their Bitcoin in terms of what they mine and increasing the hash rate, they have to find some way to pay off debt, right? And this is through the convertible senior notes. And I think that over the long term course, this will put Mara in the position where they will be, right behind strategy, where they will have 60,000 Bitcoins, getting close to that 100,000 milestone. Not there yet, but that's their goal. So on July 29th, on Tuesday, 2 o'clock, 1 hour after the market closing, we're going to get updates with, the earnings call. And I really do anticipate Mara to really just show some dominance when it comes to their financial report. They'll report, positive earnings per share. It'll be, actuals, dominating the expected values that, the Wall Street is forecasting. And this is going to drive the price for Mara up. I may be incorrect, but I believe that there's going to be a high probability of occurrence for it to run up. And, that's where I believe Mara's share price is going to go. And it's going to go back into that $20 range. Let's take a look at technicals of Bitcoin. So where we are right now. So yesterday we had Bitcoin take a pullback at nighttime. We were just scratching our heads, wondering like, wait, why is it going from like 119,000 down to like 115,000? Got down to the low point of 114,000, got bought up. Well, there was news around how Galaxy Digital sold off 80,000 Bitcoin. Thing is, with the holder, been buying Bitcoin at $100. So these big time whales are just, just taking profits and it's normal. However, what are we seeing? Bitcoin volume has been increasing, even though we see Bitcoin dominance slightly going down because of the altcoin run-ups. That doesn't mean that the dominance for Bitcoin percentage won't go up. And because we're seeing the volume increase just recently, this is a good sign for the next leg up that's going to be coming. I really do like seeing this consolidation period where you got to have boring weeks for Bitcoin because it can't just go up in one straight line. So, like, just looking at, July 14 was when it went to like 123,000, reaching all-time high. So it's about 10 days of healthy consolidation. We want this before that next leg up. I'm forecasting in the year 2025, at a minimum, we will break through 200,000 for the price of Bitcoin. With Bitcoin expected to go to 200,000, what does this mean for a big time Bitcoin miner like Mara? So let's take a look at the technical. So, we're looking at the weekly, daily candle right now. Just with Mara, I really do see that even though we had RSI, on the daily go up to like 70, we had a slight pullback from July 17th. Now RSI is at 48. It's right at that equilibrium point. Took a slight pullback, but key thing is we haven't broke through this, this golden cross right here with the 50 to 200 day moving average, and we continue to see, higher lows, higher highs. Yes, we did take a slight pullback, but we're still ascending up in this channel. I really do have forecasts for next week, by Friday at a minimum. We're going to break through 1950. Who knows? We may even go beyond that. Current price at 1725. I really do think next week we could definitely climb at a minimum over this $2 hump, which I do think is going to come. Earnings report, it may very well just shoot up into like 22 to the upside, but on a conservative note, 1950 is where I believe we're going to be headed at a high probability. In fact, we may go even further. But as we get into like the month of August, $26 to the upside. In fact, I was bullish on $26, you know, um, well in the upcoming week, but just with the news around the ATMs during that time, that changes the use case. So, it pushes out the timeline. However, we will get there. Technicals are looking good. RSI is looking stable. We continue to see, higher lows, and we haven't had price action to break, through this moving average cross where we will have an intersection point, and that would, potentially drop the price. But I don't think we're in that situation. Next week is going to be fireworks driven from the fundamentals updates, along with macro scale updates, with Bitcoin price potentially shooting up. Let's say during the weekend, Bitcoin starts, making a run. This can really be the supplement for Mara's share price to just run up as we head, into the events leading up to earnings call. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this episode where we did a deep dive analysis talking about Mara, what my price prediction is, and I'd love to hear what your prediction is as we're heading into the earnings call on Tuesday. Let me know what your thoughts are. Is Mara going to announce positive news? What will the share price be for Mara and Bitcoin? Put it in the comments and make sure to hit the like and subscribe. Thank you guys.